Now, before we get too far, we're still untitled. We haven't saved. That's really bad. Let's go ahead and remedy that. Always save, file, save scene as, and we'll call this Steve. All right, now that that's taken care of, let's think through the process of what we want to do and what the moving parts are. It's important to go back to the character or the game and play it and watch the movement and interaction. Now at first, I wanted to just create this as one solid object and then rig it standard, but I can't do that because he moves more like a robot. His head kind of moves independent. It doesn't squish like a body squishes. So when my arm moves, it deforms. When Minecraft Steve's arms move, they don't deform, they're more like a robotic metal skeleton, okay? So we actually need to create separate objects for the head, the arms, the legs, and the torso. And then we will parent them together when we rig them. So very easy indeed. He's one of the easiest game characters of all time to create. Let's go ahead and hit cube here for the head. And we're going to be naming these, and I'm going to show you the outliner here. So I'm going to move this up. We'll scale it. Move it down into place. And I want to show you the outliner. Behold the outliner. This shows all the objects in our scene. It's pretty complex, but let's rename this cube to head. All right. It's going to be important to keep organized in here. You don't want a bunch of P cubes. All right. P cube 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 20. Okay, so very simple. We've created the head. Let's go ahead and create all the rest of the body parts because it's just that simple. We just need to create them and scale them into place. So I'll go ahead and hit this, and we've got the body here. We can scale it up. Again, let me show you some other ways to kind of get more screen real estate, which I think is very important. I can close the channel box editor here. I can also go to two viewports, viewing panes, which I like doing quite a bit. Another thing I like to do is if I hit Control Spacebar, I can just eliminate everything else. This is like Pro mode. So I like to work in Pro mode quite a bit, but again, that's Control Space to get there. And let's move this into place. It's almost there, very close. And then since this one is in perspective mode, we can go to Panels, Orthographic, and go to Side, and then we can see we're way off. Another thing we need to do is shading, X-ray. I already had it on over here. And it doesn't come on by default, so if you're not seeing what I'm seeing, shading, X-ray. Okay, now I can scale this to where I need to go. Need to make sure I'm in object mode though. Let's scale that. And over here you can see I'm off a little bit too on the proportions. It's important to take the time to get the proportions right. Again, I'm using the W, E, R, and the Alt keys to move around. If you don't have those memorized by now, you really need to. Take the time to memorize the hotkeys, okay? So there's Minecraft Steve's body, just like that. Now we could just duplicate this real quick. Control D, but first we need to name it. Keep things organized. This will be torso. And then we can just go Control D, move this object over, scale it down, zoom in, get it as close to correct as you can. It's worth the extra time. That looks like a decent arm. Let's name that arm left, because if you were facing that way, that would be your left arm. Let me zoom in there. Oh, it looks like we're not quite. Let's hit enter there. Looks like we're a little bit off right here. So this is a good opportunity to use component mode. Right click. You could just select vertices, lasso select these, and move them up into place like that. We'll go back to object mode. And we can duplicate this, Control D, move it over. There we have our other arm. And of course we'll want to make this arm right. Just double clicking to rename that. And we can see our head's a little bit off there. Again, it's important to zoom in and take the time. Don't rush this process, especially if it's your first time. Okay, just using the hotkeys we memorized in the earlier lessons to get this as close to perfect as possible. Like that. And again, sometimes I can't get it by just scaling the whole object, and I really need to just go to component mode, lasso select them, and move them into place to get it just perfect. Take your time, zoom in, get it perfect. Now, if this isn't working right, it's because these two reference images are off, and that's what we're running into right now. So don't worry too much if the reference images are slightly off. It's okay. Let's go to object mode. And we'll just realize that the two textures aren't perfectly aligned, and that's okay. We're going to be close enough with Steve anyway here. Next, we need to model Steve's legs. These little guys right here. What we could do is just duplicate an arm, Control D, move that down and over, and scale it. Move it up, over. Spacebar to zoom way in on this viewing pane. And then we'll go back to component mode, vertices, lasso select, and then lasso select the ones on the bottom and move them down. Hit enter. We need to rename this, of course, leg underscore L. There really is a reason I use the underscore. It's a naming convention that lets you auto rename something. So just use this format for right now, and in the future you'll see why it's so useful. Okay, again, I'll duplicate that, Control D, move that over. And we've just modeled Minecraft Steve's body. It's not 110% perfect, but there it is. Let's spacebar over to our perspective view. We'll hit this, go to our perspective view, and we've created Minecraft Steve. That simple, that easy. That's how easy it is to model Minecraft Steve. So what we have to do in the future is we have to parent everything together, and I'll show you kind of how to move some points around. It's going to get a little bit complex. I'll try to slow down a little bit. If you find that I'm moving too fast, rewind or slow me down, but definitely be memorizing the hotkeys. Again, there will be a quiz. Hotkeys are super important. This was fun, but this one's getting a little bit long. In the next one, we're going to parent it all together, and he's going to be kind of a working rig. So I'll see you then.